If you've been paper crafting for any amount of time, you may have fallen victim to the idea that you need a ton of brand new supplies to be able to make beautiful cards. And I want to be the first, or maybe not the first, to tell you that is not true at all. You can use some of the most random things that you can find around your house, at the thrift store, in the Dollar Tree, wherever, to make beautiful, fun projects. And I'm so excited to do that in today's video. I really allowed myself to just play, think way outside of that crafty box, and enjoy the process of just being creative. That's really kind of where I've been leaning toward a lot lately, and today's video will definitely exhibit a lot of that behavior. So a little disclaimer before we get started, I don't anticipate anyone going out and purchasing exactly what I'm using today for this video, but what I really want it to do is I want you to start thinking about how you can use weird, random household items for your own crafting journey, because maybe there's an alternative supply that you can use to maybe a more expensive craft branded item. So I really just want to encourage you to practice and use that muscle. Okay, I also want to let you know that's what we did in last month's class, our live class that we had in August, where I really did use a whole bunch of household random supplies to make really fun cards. So if you want to check out that replay, I'll link it below. But let's get into this video right now. So fun. First up, we are making a donut card. So I'm taking out a pool noodle. So random. I cut the pool noodle piece off. Now I use the rest of it to hold up my boots, you know, put them inside so the boots keep their form. Anyway, now we're going to move on to dipping this in ink. So this first portion right here, I'm actually just practicing and playing with it to see what I get. I'm using watercolor cardstock, and that mat to the right is a cutting board from the Dollar Tree. Now I'm using a vintage photo color. It's like a brown color of Distress Oxide. Once I stamp that down, I can see that because it's watercolor and it's water friendly and I'm using watercolor paper, I can just take a water brush and fill it in to make it look like completed donuts. Once I get that done, I'm going to add some darker brown in ground espresso of Splatters. That's it. That card is clean and simple and so easy to make with a pool noodle. But the finishing parts of the card, I think, are what I'm most excited about. So I stamped it, and then this part you actually don't need if you're going to use glaze, but I didn't know I was going to use glaze yet. So I put some glue, liquid adhesive, all around the top donut. And then I sprinkled on some sprinkles. Now, those are not real. Those are actual, I think they're clay. You can use real sprinkles, I'm sure. But then at the end of that, I'm going to take some Nouveau glaze, and I'm just going to haphazardly cover the donuts, not in a very full way. Like I don't make sure I hit every part of it. Once I get that done, you see the glaze is going to actually seal in those sprinkles, and so they're not going to come off. So here it is wet, and then I'm going to show it to you all dry. This is from using a pool noodle, folks. That was so fun. Real quick, I wanted to tell you in the beginning, I missed it, but I used my scissors as a knife, and that worked beautifully. So, all right, let's move on to the second one. This is going to be using this balloon air blower to see if I can move around some alcohol inks on my paper. This water dropper actually has isopropyl alcohol in it. That's from the Dollar Tree as well. It's a little glass dropper. I'm going to put a little bit of alcohol ink onto my graphics craft plastic paper, and I am then going to add a little bit of isopropyl alcohol in 99%, and then I'm just going to blow it around with this balloon blower upper. See if we can get anything. If you are in a pinch or if your blower tool breaks, this is $1.25, and it did actually work. I would say better than a straw, but not as good as the Ranger blower tool that I use. So just wanted to try it out, and it was pretty fun. I like the results of this too. I thought it was really cute. And I would say it loses a little bit of control because it's cumbersome. But anyway, I saw it and I said, hey, let me give it a go. On that note, though, this is the perfect time to invite you to our September 27th live alcohol ink class. I have so much fun in store for you. So let me pause and talk about that really quickly. All right, our next live class is going to be alcohol inks, as mentioned, September 27th at 12 p.m. We usually go for about 2 to 3 hours, and I have an 11-page guidebook that I created just for this class. I'm so excited to give that to you. It's a great resource with money savings ideas and different comparisons of blending solutions in paper and all the goods. So that will be included in the class. There's also amazing prizes that we have to give out. You'll have lifetime access to the replay. And the best part is you get to pick your own price. I don't want cost to be a factor for you not to join this community. So I hope to see you there. All right, let's get back to this fun. So I just was playing around with this. Do you see that wispy look on the outside of the blue? I thought that came out pretty well. Again, I will say though, this is kind of silly. I'm using a balloon air blower. But when we're using the tool from Ranger or even the electric one, that I will show you in class, you can get this wispy look, and it's really, really fun. And you can learn how to sort of manipulate the ink a little bit more controlled. Okay, so that was the air balloon blower. But why do I have fly swatters? Because when I saw these in the Dollar Tree, I said, that looks like a stencil, and I'm going to see if I can do that on some paper. So I grabbed these up. Now, this is something that you might have laying around the house, or you might need it because there's a lot of flies. You might have one from summer, whatever. I pulled it out and I did some sprays. I thought that would probably be the easiest to do instead of ink blending. And so look at that. Now, I will tell you, the first spray is actually not as even impressive as what I'm going to do here, which is mist my watercolor cardstock and then press it down over the fly swatter. I actually like this one a whole lot better. So I'm going to mist that a little bit with water as well as my paper. I think I only did a tiny bit. And I'm going to press that down as if I'm stamping on top of the fly swatter. That is a sentence I never expected myself to say. But here we are. And so there we go. Look at that. Isn't that a fun result? It just looks like a butterfly. And so I went in and I tried the same thing with the next one. So again, the first spray one, not as impressive. I pulled that up. And it looks like you can definitely use this with a sort of like this is more Halloween, almost like a spider web look. But I added some black and gold, and this is the result. It's not as, it looks like a spider web. It's kind of cool. However, I do the same thing. So I put the fly swatter back down, I spritz it with water, and then I'm going to spray or press over it with some watercolor cardstock. Now, I would say the orientation of the paper does matter. I liked the butterfly more in landscape than portrait. And so in portrait, I got a little bit of the handle, which I didn't want. So there we go. I thought that was really cool. I can finish that card off with some splatters and, just maybe some heat embossing. That'll be a lot of fun to play with. So, all right. That was my fly swatter demonstration. Let's move on to the next part here. And we're going to be using, remember in the old video, I showed you this spackle thing, and I used it with some paste. Well, I'm going to pull that spackle back out, and I'm going to use it to help me reinforce my score lines. So I've scored 2 of my card bases, and because it has this beveled edge, it actually works extremely well, and it hurts my hands a whole lot less than a bone folder. So that was a really nice thing to discover. So I just press it down on the beveled edge, and I feel like I don't know, the bone folder sometimes digs into my hand when I'm doing like 30 or 40 card bases. So that was a really nice alternative. Now I got this idea from Tony Solario. This is just a cookie rack, something for the oven that I picked up. And what she does is when she's done doing her alcohol ink or spray ink panels, she'll use this to kind of put them to dry, gets them up off the work surface. So I thought that was a really great idea. So again, $1.25, I picked it up. I do so many backgrounds, it would be nice to have a designated place to put them. So that was great. Also, you can raise them up and maybe put some, if you have like a heat friendly surface underneath, like a silicone mat or something, you can heat them from that direction. This way there's space between the back of the card panel and the silicone mat. There's that air that's going to allow it to heat better without warping as much. So that is a great idea to kind of minimize some of that warping. By the way, those are ink smushed backgrounds, most of them that I just laid out there for you. Now this is moving into organization. So the first one I wanted to show you was this little marker organization right here. Well, it says marker organization. You can put anything you want in there, but I am going to put some markers, and I thought this was a really fun idea for travel coloring. So if you're going to any events where, you know, you're waiting around a lot, you can do that. Or if you have littles, you can pack some stuff up for them. I'm going to add, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the cutting boards from Dollar Tree. There's 2 to a pack, and you can slice them up very easily with your paper trimmer. I'm going to cut this up 6 by 6 so that I can put that in the marker storage as well, because if I'm doing alcohol markers, you know, you don't want that to seep through on your lap or anything like that. And so that'll be a protective sheet. I'm also going to corner around the sides. This way it's not sharp. If you're having kids play with this, that's a good idea to do. And there we go, a little travel marker storage. So that was a lot of fun. Okay, let's talk more about that mat. So I've shown this mat in quite a few videos actually. It really, I can't say enough good things about it. It really is fantastic for ink smushing. And the reason is the surface of it allows for beading of your ink. And you want that beading of the ink so that you can get easier splatters, easier blending, whatever technique you're trying to do, it's going to allow you to do that. Sometimes with glass mats, I find when I'm ink smushing, it drags a little bit too much with the ink and it doesn't give me movement as much as I'd like. So love this mat, so super cheap, highly recommend it. 2 to a pack, and you can use the others for multiple purposes. All right, so there we go. I was just demonstrating some ink smushing. Now, let's talk about how streamers are not just for birthday parties. So we're going to make a super fun card with this white streamer pack here. I'm going to make a little mummy card. Now, if I'm honest with myself and all of you, I wouldn't say this was my best card, but I would say it was a lot of fun to make and very simple and very cheap. So I take a piece of cardstock here and I'm going to cover it with some double-sided adhesive so the whole thing's covered. You don't have to do this. You can use a bunch of liquid glue, a bunch of tape runner, whatever you have. I'm sure will work just fine. But I'm going to use this right here. I'm going to lay down my card panel on top of it and just get it down to size. I am going to trim it down. And that's fine because my final card is going to have a mat behind it. So this panel can be smaller than an A2 size. That's totally fine. I'm going to trim off the extras. And then I'm just going laying out the streamer just in sort of a mummy look. I know it doesn't look exactly like I'm wrapping it, but it really, to me, it really didn't matter. As long as it was kind of crunched up and all over the actual panel, I probably could have just went horizontally back and forth. That was fine, but I was trying to make it look like a wrap. And when I did that, some of it overlaid other pieces of the streamer. So all I did was take some glue and adhere it to fasten it. That's it. So I'm just kind of crunching it up a little bit and just filling in all of those extra pieces. You see why the double-sided adhesive was easy? It made it really easy because the whole thing was covered. And so once I get all of that done, I'm just going to take my scissors and trim off everything that's extra. Now I don't want to leave this stark white because mummies aren't clean, right? Mummies are a little dirty. So I took some brown ink and I just went over it. And I think I might have taken like this color and then like a darker brown. Yeah. So I take a darker brown and just to make it look a little bit dirty. After that, I went back with it and I finished it off with some googly eyes and a spooky sentiment. So you'll see the finished card here. And then I backed that on some other Halloween paper pad in the back. So it like frames it nicely. So that's my little mummy card with streamers. Okay, so let's talk about a fail because not all of the things that I try work. And so I wanted to include this one. I would say if a 10 is, wow, you've got to try this product, and a 1 is just skip over this portion of the video, I would say this probably falls at like a 4. I wouldn't probably use this in a final product, but I do want to show you what I tried. So I picked up, first I'm actually getting my heat wax set up here. I'm, heating my candle, waxing some heat. That's what I'm doing. No, I'm heating some wax because I want to show you. This right here is the actual wax for doing this. Okay, wax seals. But I thought, what if I bought some birthday candles from the Dollar Tree and cut them down, and then I use that? Well, first, let's watch what happens when I try to pour it into a fun little circle. It was not a circle. Now, on the left, you'll see some pre-made silicones for wax seals, and it worked in there. If I were to maybe have 2 heaters going at the same time and get a lot of wax, I'm sure that would have worked better. But this one only fits so much. Another thing that I didn't like about it is there's a wick inside. And so you have to fish out the wick after it melts down the candle. Not a huge deal if you use a little poker tool, but is it worth the trouble? I guess that's the question we all have to talk about today. No, in my opinion, it wasn't worth the trouble. I will just keep those in a drawer waiting for a birthday to come up because I probably wouldn't do this again. I did want to show it to you though, just in case. Just in case this video inspires you and you're walking through your local stores and you're like, will candles work? Now you know, and you can decide. I will show you, I poured it into the pre-made silicone wax seals, which by the way are awesome. And I'm going to show you what that looks like when it's dried because, you know, it's worth seeing. It's really super thin. That's why I said if I had more wax, maybe that would work, but I'd have to have 2 heaters going at the same time. It's kind of cool. I just would be afraid it would crumble on my project. So there's the birthday candle wax seal from the Dollar Tree. Not so great. Okay, let's move on. I picked up one of these little makeup sponges, I suppose. Yeah, that's what it is. And I wanted to use this as like the stencil daubers. Now I tried it first by putting the ink and wetting it a little bit onto this surface, that mat again, and I'm going to stencil it on. Now with these, you can go in circular motion, but they work really good like pouncers when you press down. I was like, why aren't these really giving me a lot of coverage? And I realized it's because I don't usually ink blend like that. I never put ink onto a pad and then blend it onto my stencil. So I don't know what I was thinking. So then I was like, oh, I'm actually probably should be putting this ink pouncer into the actual ink. And then it showed up perfectly. So I give this a thumbs up. This worked really, really well. If you can get a bunch for $1.25 before Dollar Tree prices go up again, I would recommend them. I think they're great. And they're good little blending tools. I would probably, because I have all of the blending brushes I need, I wouldn't say this was my preference, but it definitely works. Especially, again, we're talking about picking up craft items, supplies that are inexpensive. Okay, now this is not from the Dollar Tree, but I wanted to show you, I will put on the screen, if I can find it, where I saw this video on YouTube, where the fellow crafter found these and used them for sticky mats inside their Misty. And I think it was either a Misty or some sort of stamping tool. Now these craft branded ones can be quite pricey. There's a Dollar Tree one that's thin. It's almost like a Cricut cutting mat. That's obviously, you know, Dollar Tree price. But this, the thicker ones that you get of the grip mats, they're kind of pricey. This right here, though, I think I got 6 of them for $5.99 or $6.99. And they hold your cardstock in place, and they're very, very thin. I think they're made for diamond painting. And so they're very thin. I found no issues with that. Now, getting it off and taking the paper off of it, you want to be very careful as to not bend your paper too much. And so what I would recommend is pull the sticky mat off first and then remove it from your card panel. That's probably the best way. But I thought it was a really great alternative and super inexpensive. And if you have some crafty friends, buy a pack and give them one. Because you can probably reuse this multiple times. It's very sticky, but it doesn't leave any residue on your hands. So it's kind of neat. All right, let's go back into some organization here. Now this is an item from Dollar Tree that I'm just going to use as intended. I thought they were a nice size for when I'm compartmentalizing my card supplies for my classes, or if I'm doing a project and I just want to pack it up and come back to it later. I think these are a really great size. So I picked up 3 of them. The stickers thankfully remove quite easily without ripping or, you know, having residue left over. And so I just wanted to put a little plug in for those. They have a little latch that closes, and they're not, I mean, they're thinner plastic, so I probably wouldn't put like a 30-pound weight on top of them, but it worked just fine. Another item I picked up was, first of all, for its intended purpose to carry drinks around. I think it's so cute and so useful when you're trying to, like, I don't know, during the summer, bring drinks outside for people. But I was like, maybe I can use this in my craft space for organization. Now, I have a pretty good organization set up already, so I will likely use this for its intended purpose for our family, but I wanted to see how much it would fit, and it fit quite a lot. And even so, one of those, if you lined it with either aluminum foil or silicone, you could probably even use it for your heat tool. You just don't want to put your hot heat tool in the center of it. It'll melt it. It's plastic. So, but if you lined that, like I said, with some silicone, I think that might work. But I thought it was really great. If you're just finding your stuff all over the place, pick up one of these or use something like this and you'd be good to go. Next, I'm going to show you how I store all of my tools. I use this bamboo holder, which was only, when I bought it, about $6.95. However, I'm going to show you how to make one with some napkin holders from the Dollar Tree. So I picked up 4. You can pick up 6 or 7, however many you want. Because I will tell you, when you are connecting these with zip ties, as you can see me doing in the video, it is so sturdy. Like, there's no pulling these apart when you have them all fastened. So I put 2 zip ties on both sides of the napkin holder. Now, I'm using this as a tray for tools, but think if you put this on the wall, you can actually use it to hold rolls of Cricut vinyl or something that could fit snug in there, and that would be fantastic. To use some of that real estate that's up on the wall is always beneficial. Instead of having stuff always all over your desk. So I get that done, then I'm gonna snip away all of the excess pieces of my zip ties, and now I have this really awesome tool holder that I can fit so much in. And like I said, it's very, very sturdy. So total cost of that was $6.25 if I'm doing my public math correct. But I noticed towards the end, you can see I pushed them all over to the side, and now I have even more space for extra stuff, which I thought was great. So again, I used the bamboo one before, but I wanted to make this one and show you. And here we go on my shelf. They are all tucked in, so nice and neat and out of the way. And I don't have to, if they're piled on top of each other, I have to move them to get a bottom one. And I don't have to do that with this. So that's one of my favorite things out of this whole video. So let's talk about these little plastic spoons. This is in the kitchen area or the party area, I think. I'm going to show you how they are so great to pour on embossing powder for my project. So once I do that, I'm going to show you a side tip here. Is if you want it to look a little mixed media-ish, just remove some powder from your image. And now I have this kind of mixed media look. I'm also going to show you, you can pick up one of those lint rollers and that'll get all that excess powder. So bonus Dollar Tree item. I'm going to store away one of those spoons in all of my most used embossing powders. They even fit in my tiny ones, which I'm super happy about. And now they all have. Now another bonus thing here is because they have a pointed end, you can actually use them for your embellishments and then pour them easily back into the storage containers. If you could think of any other ways to use those, let me know in the comments. All right, next organization are these trays. They're like paper trays. Stickers come off great, easy, very easy, no residue. But if you tried to stack these and then move on with your life, it's not going to work. They're just not sturdy enough. They like shift and they move. It's just not good. I wouldn't recommend them if you want them to stay put. But if you want them to stay put, you can grab some super glue. In this case, I'm using E6000 liquid glue, and I'm just going to line it and then pack them on. I'm going to make sure they're lined up as they should be before the glue dries, and E6000 takes a little bit to dry anyway, so you have lots of wiggle room. But once I get all of those set, now I'm new to using E6000, so if I'm using too much, I'm sorry, I probably am. But you probably don't need that much. But once I get that done, now they're sturdy. They're really cute with these kind of holographic colors. And I labeled them so I can keep my paper in them. So they're good for decor and they're functional. All right, now we're gonna move into this right here is these rub-ons. So these are gonna be used as intended, so they're not an alternative item. But I just cut up the panel I just made, and I'm gonna try out these rub-ons from the Dollar Tree. Now they're $1.25. I don't know if that's the most cost-effective way to buy rub-ons. I will tell you that is inexpensive, and you're only getting one sheet, but they're actually pretty good. I was pretty impressed. I'm using my Spackle, there it is, the spackle thing. I'm going to use that again to press them down, and I found because of the evenness of it, it actually pressed down really nicely and quickly, faster than if I was using like a popsicle stick. So I'm just going to lay these all over my white background, and I think it's going to look really nice with the brick on the front. So for this part of the video, I'm just showing you how I finished off some of the cards that I had here, and that was really fun. I do recommend the rub-ons. I think they were very pretty, and I liked the color theme of those. And that was my last item. So that'll do it for this video. I hope you got inspired. I hope you get excited to get back in your craft space. And even if you don't use anything that I showed you today, that you just play. Just get in there, pull out some supplies, give yourself time to be creative. That is so good for our mental health, our well-being, building mental resilience, all of those things. It's key that we give ourselves time to do the things we love. So as I said in the video, if you want to join us for our live class coming up, meeting on September 27th live, we're going to be doing an alcohol ink class, and I am over the moon geeked out about this class because I have so much fun planned for it. So do join us, pick your own price. I don't want cost to be a factor for anyone not joining, and we will see you there. Or I'll see you in the comments down below, or I'll see you in the next video. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.